Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
Today we're sharing 5 stories. First up, TSMC is pouring an incredible $165 billion into new Arizona chip plants, putting it on a collision course with President Trump's sudden threats of massive tariffs. Then we'll get into how Disney just poached the kids' show CoComelon from Netflix, and we'll explain why Netflix let its golden goose go after a stunning 60% viewership drop. After that, we'll unpack why Elon Musk's $9 billion company, Neuralink, claimed it was a small, disadvantaged business to get an edge on government contracts. Fourth, OpenAI has turned ChatGPT into a powerful AI agent with its own virtual computer that can now browse the web and complete complex tasks for you. And finally, Chinese startup Unitree is gearing up for an IPO backed by a massive $137 billion state fund in its race to build humanoid robots. The story begins with a decision that caught everyone by surprise. The world's most important chipmaker is accelerating its plans to build in America, even as the US government threatens to hit them with massive tariffs. Taiwan's Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, just confirmed it's speeding up its US production schedule by several quarters. The CEO says there is strong interest from its leading American customers who are demanding more, faster. So, what does this strong interest actually mean? This isn't just about getting chips made closer to home. It's about the AI revolution. Companies like Nvidia and Apple are in an arms race, and the biggest bottleneck right now isn't just making the chips, but packaging them. That's why TSMC isn't just building fabs, they're building advanced packaging plants in the US. This is a huge deal because it means the most complex part of the AI supply chain, which often requires shipping wafers back to Asia, could soon happen right in Arizona, dramatically speeding things up. And when TSMC bets, it bets big. The company has pledged a staggering $165 billion for its American expansion. We're talking about 6 advanced chip fabrication facilities, 2 advanced packaging plants, and a dedicated R&D center, all rising in Arizona. The first facility is already complete. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer of strategy at play. Building these facilities is an immense logistical challenge. We're talking about replicating an entire ecosystem that took decades to perfect in Asia. For example, chip making requires massive amounts of ultra-pure water. How do you do that in the middle of the Arizona desert? Well, TSMC is aiming to recycle up to 90% of its water. And it's not just water. They have to convince hundreds of smaller, critical suppliers to move from Asia to Arizona to support them. On top of that, there have been reports of challenges finding enough specialized workers and even cultural clashes between the demanding Taiwanese work culture and American labor expectations. This move comes as TSMC posts numbers that are an absolute bombshell. The company just reported a nearly 61% surge in profit, hitting an all-time record high. They are operating from a position of incredible strength. This financial power is critical, because it gives them a buffer to absorb the higher costs of building and operating in the United States. But here's the core conflict. At the same time, TSMC is pouring billions into the US. President Donald Trump has threatened steep reciprocal tariffs of 32% on Taiwan and warned of potential tariffs on semiconductors specifically. This is where the situation gets almost paradoxical, because manufacturing these chips in the US is already estimated to be around 30% more expensive than in Taiwan due to higher labor costs and supply chain differences. So adding a massive tariff on top of that could seriously undermine the profitability of this entire $165 billion project that is designed to boost American strategic interests. The CEO, CC, Wei acknowledged the tension, stating the company understands the uncertainties and risk from the potential impact of tariff policies. Yet he also made it clear, saying, "We have not seen any change in our customers' behavior so far." This sets up a massive collision course. A global tech titan, essential to the world's supply chain, is making an unprecedented investment in America, driven by unstoppable market demand. But it's doing so directly in the face of major political and economic threats from the very country it's investing in. In this high-stakes game of chicken, the question is, who blinks first? We were just talking about a tech titan making an unprecedented investment. Well, speaking of corporate giants making bold moves, another major player just poached a golden goose from its biggest rival. Disney has officially outbid Netflix for the rights to CoComelon. This battle isn't just about cartoons. In the brutal streaming wars, kids' content has become the ultimate secret weapon for one simple reason. It stops you from cancelling your subscription. As one media executive put it, kids watch the same shows over and over and over and over, making them the key to reducing customer churn. Now get this rewatchability isn't an accident, it's a science. Shows like CoComelon are engineered for what some call algorithmic hypnosis. They use rapid scene changes, vibrant colours, and incredibly repetitive songs to maximize engagement. While this is great for business, some child development experts are raising alarms. One study found that just 9 minutes of fast-paced cartoons could temporarily impair a preschooler's executive function. The big question is whether we are designing content for developmental milestones or just to keep kids glued to the screen. The numbers are staggering. The Australian kids show Bluey racked up over 25 billion minutes of viewing time on Disney Plus in just the first half of the year. And Disney's Moana is officially the most streamed movie in history. What's fascinating is that these shows succeed for completely different reasons. We're seeing Bluey, which is deeply, authentically Australian, proving that culturally specific content can resonate globally. At the same time, you have CoComelon, which is almost the opposite. It's culturally agnostic, designed to be understood anywhere without friction. This shows there are two winning formulas. One is hyperlocal and authentic. The other is universally generic. But that's not the whole picture. The real king of this space, believe it or not, isn't Disney or Netflix. It's YouTube. The platform now accounts for nearly 13% of all streaming on TV screens, more than any other single service. One former executive was blunt. If you're not on YouTube, it's like you don't exist for kids. This has forced a massive power shift. Traditional giants are now creating shows exclusively for their biggest competitor. Paramount, home to Paw Patrol, just launched its new series, Kid Cowboy, directly on YouTube. Which brings us back to the CoComelon bombshell. Why would Netflix let its golden goose go? Because internal data showed a jaw-dropping 60% decline in viewing hours for the show on its platform. The reason this is such a big deal is that the whole business model is built on kids having infinite rewatch value. A 60% drop shatters that assumption. Research suggests this isn't just a fluke. It points to a few critical factors. First, simple content fatigue. Even toddlers get bored. Second, it shows that even the biggest preschool shows have a finite life cycle. And finally, it reflects a shift in viewing habits, with kids potentially favoring the endless user-generated scroll of platforms like YouTube and TikTok over a single long-form show. So, what's Netflix's next move? It's already betting on the next YouTube sensation, Ms. Rachel, which has pulled in 53 million views on Netflix in just 6 months. And this isn't just a random bet, it's a calculated strategy. What we're seeing is streamers using YouTube as a de-risked farm system for talent. Why spend millions developing a show from scratch when you can license a creator like Ms. Rachel, who has already proven she can build a massive loyal audience on her own. The upside for streamers is a pre-built fan base. The downside? It creates intense bidding wars for these proven YouTube stars, which can inflate costs and might even lead to more homogenized content as everyone chases the same proven formulas. This whole situation raises a fascinating question. In the new streaming war, who's really in charge of the platforms or the YouTube creators they now desperately need to survive? From the cutthroat world of streaming content to some, let's say, creative corporate paperwork, Elon Musk's brain implant company Neuralink just told the US government it's a small, disadvantaged business. This filing was made shortly before the company secured a new valuation that is an absolute bombshell. $9 billion. So what does that disadvantage label really mean? According to the Small Business Administration, it's reserved for businesses majority owned by individuals who are socially and economically disadvantaged. So the thing is, the SBA largely relies on a self-certification process. This means a company can simply check a box and declare itself eligible without mandatory upfront verification. To qualify, a business has to be at least 51% owned by individuals who are not only socially disadvantaged, meaning they've faced racial or ethnic prejudice, but also economically disadvantaged, which the SBA typically defines as having a personal net worth under $750,000. Securing that status is a big deal because the US government is a massive potential customer for brain-computer interface technology. Think about agencies like DARPA, which is already funding programs to develop non-invasive neural tech for soldiers, or the Department of Veterans Affairs, which is focused on assistive technologies to restore function for veterans with disabilities. Gaining that status could put Neuralink at the front of the line for these incredibly lucrative and strategic contracts. And this is where the situation takes a more complex turn. This filing was submitted around the same time Musk was leading the Trump administration's Department of Government Efficiency. That department's mission was to slash the size of federal agencies. In fact, Musk's initiative boasted about cutting hundreds of millions of dollars in funding for the Department of Education, specifically targeting grants related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. The reason this is so wild is that research shows Doge was responsible for cancelling over $370 million in DEI-related grants in the Department of Education alone. When we place Musk's government role alongside his company's filing, the contradiction becomes clear. Now, connect the dots. A company helmed by the world's wealthiest person, fresh off a $650 million funding round from investors like Sequoia Capital and Peter Thiel's Founders Fund, is using a designation tied to social and economic disadvantage. What's crucial to understand here is that the SBA has complex affiliation rules to determine who really controls a company. For a venture-backed startup with many powerful investors, proving that 51% of control lies with a disadvantaged individual can be incredibly tricky, and some critics argue the system is vulnerable to being exploited by these complex ownership structures. And this isn't just a minor paperwork issue. The Department of Justice has previously fined other companies nearly $1.9 million for making false claims about this exact status. These cases are often prosecuted under the False Claims Act, and the DOJ has recovered billions of dollars from companies making fraudulent claims to get government contracts. The potential penalties can be severe. It leaves you wondering, was this a massive oversight or a calculated move by a $9 billion company to get a taxpayer-funded advantage? The truth is, we don't know the exact motivation. It could be a simple clerical error, a strategic attempt to exploit a loophole in the self-certification system, or even a form of political protest against the very programs that disadvantaged business status represents. Whatever the reason, it shines a massive spotlight on who these federal programs are truly for. Speaking of which, another major AI venture is making waves, and this one could change how we interact with computers forever. The AI everyone's been talking about, ChatGPT, just went through a massive evolution. It's no longer just a chatbot. OpenAI has officially unleashed an AI agent equipped with its own virtual computer. Now, that virtual computer isn't just a gimmick. It's a critical security feature. The agent operates inside what's called a sandboxed environment. Think of it like a secure digital playpen. The AI can run code and browse the web inside this box, but it's completely isolated from your actual computer and even from OpenAI's core systems. This is designed to prevent a hijacked or malfunctioning agent from breaking out and causing real damage. The potential here isn't about asking for a recipe anymore. This new agent can handle complex, multi-step tasks all on its own. Imagine telling it to order an outfit for a wedding. It won't just search for clothes, it will check the weather forecast, understand the event's dress code, interact with websites, and then complete the task. The key takeaway here is that this moves AI beyond simple automation into complex cognitive work. A recent study showed that AI assistants boosted the productivity of customer support agents by 15%, especially helping newer workers handle nuanced problems. We're now seeing roles that require multi-step research and tool use like market analysis or even executive support becoming vulnerable to this new wave of automation. What really brought this to a head was the next development. The agent can connect directly to your personal apps like Gmail and GitHub to find information and execute commands based on your private data. This is a level of integration that moves AI from a research tool to a personal operator. Interestingly enough, giving an agent access to your apps also opens the door to a major risk called prompt injection. Attackers can hide malicious commands inside what looks like a normal request. For example, security researchers have shown how a hidden instruction in an email could trick an AI into creating a fake summary to facilitate a phishing scam. It's a huge hurdle that needs to be solved to make these agents truly trustworthy. This move is a direct shot in the escalating AI race. Major tech players including Microsoft, Salesforce, and Oracle are already pouring billions into developing their own agent technology. They see this as the next frontier for boosting productivity, and OpenAI is making a bold play to get ahead of the pack, turning its wildly popular chatbot into a proactive, task-completing powerhouse. This isn't just about boosting efficiency anymore. The line between an AI assistant and an AI that acts on your behalf is officially blurring. It makes you ask, as these agents get smarter and more connected to our lives, where does the assistant end and the decision maker begin? And this brings up the million-dollar question, what happens when it messes up? This is what experts are calling the agent accountability gap. If the agent orders the wrong expensive item or emails the wrong client, who's legally liable? Is it you, the user? Is it OpenAI? The truth is, our current legal frameworks aren't built for this. The European Union is already proposing an AI liability directive to tackle this, but for now, it remains a massive legal and ethical grey area. We were just talking about the brain of AI getting a major upgrade. Now, let's shift our focus to the body that brain might one day inhabit. A new contender just burst onto the scene in the global race for humanoid robots, and they're making a move that could shake the entire industry. Chinese startup Unitree Robotics is officially gearing up for an IPO, and if that was just the appetizer, the main course is just being served. This isn't just some garage startup with a dream. Unitree has already locked down 39 million yuan, over $5 million US dollars in government and university contracts. But the real bombshell is the timing. More than half of that money came in just the last 12 months. The context here is that $5 million comes from at least 90 separate contracts with Chinese government and academic bodies. This isn't a one-off grant, it's a sustained strategic infusion of state capital. This is part of a much larger national strategy. The Chinese government has recently allocated over $20 billion to the humanoid robotics sector and is planning a massive 1 trillion yuan fund that's about $137 billion to boost its AI, robotic startups. This raises a critical question about their business model. How much of this growth is driven by genuine commercial sales versus state support? The long-term risk is whether they can become truly profitable on the open market before that government money dries up. That's a massive sudden acceleration. So what's fueling this explosive growth? A powerhouse combination that's hard to compete with. China's vast, self-sufficient manufacturing supply chains and a flood of local government subsidies and favorable policies. However, when we place China's manufacturing prowess alongside its need for certain high-tech components, a potential vulnerability becomes clear. While China's dominance in electronics manufacturing is a huge advantage, it's not entirely self-sufficient when it comes to the most advanced robot parts. The truth is, for critical high-performance components like harmonic gear reducers and advanced AI chips, companies like Unitree often still rely on foreign suppliers from places like Japan, Germany, and the United States. This exposes them to the same kind of geopolitical trade restrictions we've seen in the semiconductor industry. This isn't just a company going public, it's a state-backed strategy to dominate a frontier industry. After all, the industry is facing a classic brain versus body dilemma. The robot hardware, the body, could eventually become a commodity, just like the beige box of a PC. The real lasting value might be in the AI software, the brain, that acts as a universal operating system for all robots. Think about the Windows/PC or Android/smartphone dynamic. This is why you see tech giants like Nvidia and Google heavily investing in this space. They're not just building chips, they are creating the AI models and platforms that could become the standard mind for robots from many different manufacturers. The company, backed by CITIC Securities, is preparing its listing documents right now. And this is significant because preparing documents in China is a very different process from a Western IPO. Unitree has entered a mandatory tutoring phase. This is a unique feature of China's system where a sponsor, in this case CITIC Securities, spends at least 3 months guiding the company to ensure it's fully compliant with all regulations. It's a formal, state-overseen process that signals just how much control and support the government exerts over these strategic industries, even as they go public. This decision brings both benefits and comes with inherent risks. What happens when a company with this level of government support and manufacturing muscle finally cracks the code on truly intelligent, mass-produced humanoid robots? Cracking that code isn't just about making them walk and talk. It's about the return on investment. Right now, A general purpose humanoid can cost up to $150,000, while a specialized factory robot might be a fraction of that. The real breakthrough will be when a humanoid's adaptability and low operating cost make it a better financial bet than both a human worker and a single task machine. The battle for the future of global manufacturing just got a powerful new player.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.